My name is Ethan, and I live in a quiet suburb with my parents. Nothing really ever happens around here. It's the kind of place where people leave their garage doors open all afternoon, and kids ride bikes until dark. Last month, my parents had to leave town for 2 days to attend a funeral in another state. I was supposed to go with them, but I had midterm exams coming up, so they agreed to let me stay home alone. I'm 17, responsible enough, and honestly, I was kind of looking forward to having the house to myself. I stocked up on frozen meals, grabbed some snacks, and figured it would be a chill weekend. For most of the first day, it was exactly that. I played games, watched a movie, and talked to a friend on video call until late in the evening. That night, after brushing my teeth and locking all the doors, I climbed into bed around midnight. I scrolled on my phone for a bit and was about to sleep when I heard something strange. A soft thump above my ceiling. I paused and listened. It sounded like something shifting or dragging lightly. At first, I thought it was wind or maybe a branch brushing the roof, but the sound didn't match that. It was slower, more deliberate. Still, I told myself it was probably nothing. The house makes noises sometimes. I forced myself to sleep and ignored it. The next morning, I noticed something odd. The attic door in the hallway was slightly open. I remembered seeing it closed just the day before. I assumed maybe the latch was loose or maybe air pressure from a window caused it. I shut it tight and went on with my morning. I made breakfast, scrambled eggs and toast, and studied a bit. Later that afternoon, I opened the fridge and noticed a yogurt cup was missing. Then I saw that a sandwich I'd wrapped in foil the night before was gone too. I tried to remember if I'd eaten it late at night and forgotten, but nothing came to mind. I figured maybe I just misplaced it. That second night, the house felt quieter, too quiet. I tried to stay distracted with YouTube and games, but the silence felt heavier. Around 1 a.m., just as I was drifting off, the sound came back. A slow creaking from above, then a pause, then another shift, like someone crawling across the floorboards above my ceiling. I sat up and stared at the attic door through the gap in my bedroom door. It was still shut, at least for now. I got up, walked into the hallway, and checked. It looked closed, but I noticed something new. A faint smudge on the pull-down handle, like a greasy fingerprint. I wiped it off and went back to my room. This time, I kept the lights on. The next day, I tried to ignore my growing paranoia. I kept telling myself there had to be a logical explanation. Maybe I was sleepwalking. Maybe I did eat that sandwich and just forgot. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling something wasn't right. So that afternoon, I decided to do something simple but useful. I balanced a metal spoon on top of the attic door frame, just lightly enough that if the door opened, it would fall. A cheap alarm. Then I tried to act normal, watching shows and texting my parents like everything was fine. Around 2:30 a.m., the spoon hit the floor. The sound was sharp and sudden. I was wide awake. I didn't move right away. I just lay there, breathing shallow, listening. I heard a faint thud above me, followed by silence. I grabbed my phone, turned on the flashlight, and crept into the hallway. The attic door was slightly open, not much, but enough to prove the spoon didn't fall on its own. My hands were shaking. I pulled the attic ladder down slowly and pointed the flashlight up. At first, all I saw was insulation, some old boxes, and cobwebs. Then my light passed over something odd in the far corner, a bundle of blankets, food wrappers, an empty water bottle, and a single worn-out shoe. There was no one up there at that moment, but someone had clearly been living in our attic. I backed away quietly, trying not to make a sound. I didn't want to alert whoever it was in case they were still nearby. I went back to my room, locked the door, and dialed 911 with a whisper. The dispatcher kept me calm and told me to stay hidden. I told them I suspected someone was living in the attic. They said officers were on the way. While I waited, every sound in the house felt amplified. A creak from the hallway made my breath catch. Then the unmistakable sound of soft footsteps. They weren't heavy, just light enough to make the floor whisper. The steps moved from the attic hatch area to the hallway, slowly, like someone being careful not to wake anyone. My bedroom door didn't have a lock strong enough to hold against a determined push, and I could see the shadow of feet under the door frame. Whoever it was, they were just standing there. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. The shadow remained for almost a minute before it moved away, fading back into silence. 10 minutes later, red and blue lights flashed through the windows. I ran downstairs and let the officers in. They searched the attic and found a man curled up behind some insulation, trying to stay hidden. He looked dirty, thin, and confused. They later told me he was likely homeless, possibly mentally unstable, and had entered our house during a roof repair a few weeks back when the workers left the attic access open. He'd been hiding there ever since, only coming down when no one was home or asleep. The missing food, the strange noises, the open attic door, everything made sense now. Even though he never directly hurt me, the fear I felt those nights was enough to stay with me. I still live in the same house, but I never sleep without checking the attic, the doors, and the windows multiple times. I don't think I ever will again. That weekend taught me something I didn't expect. The scariest things don't always come from ghost stories or horror movies. Sometimes it's the quiet sound of feet above your ceiling. Sometimes it's the realization that someone has been watching you sleep without you ever knowing. Before we dive into the next horror story, make sure to subscribe to my channel so you never miss an upload. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, share it with your friends and family, and drop a comment with your suggestions. I'd love to hear from you. I had taken solo hikes for years. It was something I did to get away from everything. The people, the traffic, the screens. My friends thought I was crazy for going alone, but I always prepared well, planned my routes, and stayed alert. This trip was no different. I was hiking through a section of state forest that wasn't maintained anymore. The trails were overgrown, and there were no other hikers around. That was the point. I wanted quiet. 3 days in, I was far from any town. The trees were dense, the air still, and my GPS watch barely worked in the canopy. I was tired and the sun had started dipping lower than I liked. I hadn't found a good spot to set up camp and I was starting to get anxious. That's when I saw the roof, just the top edge of it, peeking over a low ridge. I climbed up and saw a small house at the bottom of the slope. It looked abandoned, paint peeling, windows dusty, one shutter hanging loose. There were no tire tracks or paths around it. I stood there for a few minutes, debating. I normally never entered buildings on these hikes, especially ones that looked like this. But it was getting dark fast, and I didn't want to risk setting up camp in the open. I walked around the house, knocked a few times just to be sure, and waited. Nothing. I shouted once. No response. I stepped inside. The wood creaked under my boots, but the place seemed stable. Dust everywhere, cobwebs in the corners, a stale smell like old furniture and mold. Still, it was dry and out of the wind. I picked a small room near the back of the house that had a door I could close and lock. It had an old twin bed with broken springs. I laid my sleeping bag over it and sat for a while, just listening. The silence in that house was thick, almost heavy. I ate some dried fruit and a protein bar, then laid back with my flashlight beside me. I didn't fall asleep quickly. Every small sound made me sit up and listen. But nothing happened. Eventually, I drifted off. I don't know what time it was when I woke up, maybe 1 a.m., maybe later, but it wasn't a sound that woke me. It was the feeling that something had changed. I sat up slowly, and then I heard it. A car engine, very faint, getting closer. I got up and moved to the window. There, behind the house, headlights moved through the trees. No road, just driving over grass and roots. The vehicle stopped and the lights cut out. I crouched down, barely breathing. I didn't know what to think. Who the hell would be coming to a place like this at night? I crept to the door and cracked it open just enough to see the hallway. I couldn't hear anything at first. Then I saw shadows moving across the living room wall. 2 of them, men. They walked slowly, talking in low voices. I couldn't quite make out. Then I heard something that made my chest tighten, a muffled sob. I leaned out a bit farther and saw them dragging someone through the door. A girl, probably in her teens, wrists tied in front of her, a rag around her mouth. She stumbled as they pulled her inside. I backed into the room, shut the door without a sound, and locked it. My hands were shaking. My first thought was to call someone, but my phone had no signal. I checked my GPS device, but it couldn't connect either. I felt trapped. I sat on the floor in the corner, trying to stay calm. I could hear the men moving through the house, opening doors, setting things down. One of them laughed at something. The girl was crying now. Not loud, but steady. I couldn't tell how far they were from me. I thought about trying to sneak out, but the front door was on the other side of the house. Then I heard a voice, clearer this time. Put her in the back room, just like before. My blood ran cold. Just like before? I looked around. My room had one window, but it was small and nailed shut. I had no way out unless I went into the hallway. I didn't move. I didn't make a sound. After a while, the voices got quieter, then disappeared. Maybe they went into another room. Maybe they were asleep. I didn't know. I stayed in that corner for hours, holding my small flashlight like it was a weapon. Somewhere near dawn, I heard movement again. Quick steps, a thud, then silence. Then the girl screamed, not loud, but enough to cut through the house. One of the men shouted something. Then a door slammed. I forced myself to stand and put my ear to the door. I couldn't hear anything now, just silence. I waited a few more minutes, then slowly opened the door. The hallway was empty. I crept forward, step by step. When I reached the main room, I stopped. One man was on the couch, snoring. The other wasn't there. I couldn't see the girl. I moved toward what looked like the basement door. It was slightly open. I heard movement below. My instincts screamed to run, but I couldn't leave without at least trying. I eased the door open and stepped onto the top stair. The basement was dim, lit only by a single bulb. I saw the girl sitting on the floor, hands still tied. Her mouth was uncovered now. She looked up and saw me. Her eyes widened. I held a finger to my lips. She nodded. I took a step down. The stair creaked. A door slammed behind me. I spun around. The other man was at the top of the stairs, looking down at me. He didn't say anything, just stared. We stood like that for a second. Then I ran. I pushed past him, surprising him enough to stumble back. I darted down the hallway, past the sleeping man, out the front door. I didn't stop. I didn't look back. I ran through the trees, branches cutting my face and arms. I had no sense of direction, just moved downhill until I found a dry stream bed and followed it. Hours later, I found the trail again. I walked until I found a ranger station. I told them everything, showed them on a map where the house was. They called the sheriff's department. When they searched it the next day, the house was empty. No car, no people, no girl. But they found something in the basement. Old ropes, duct tape, a stained mattress, and carvings on the walls, initials and dates going back years. They said the house had once belonged to a man who vanished in the 90s. No one had lived there since. It wasn't on any current property records. I kept thinking about what one of those men said, just like before. I never go hiking alone anymore. It was a Saturday evening, just past 9, and our parents had left earlier that afternoon to attend a wedding 2 towns over. They were supposed to stay overnight, maybe come back by lunch the next day. I was 16 and my sister Lily had just turned 13 last month. We weren't exactly new to being home alone. It had happened a few times before, usually just for a night. We had snacks, a few movies queued up, and a plan to sleep in the living room like we always did when we had the house to ourselves. It was supposed to be fun. The house was quiet except for the background hum of the fridge and the occasional barking of a neighbor's dog. Lily was on the floor wrapped in a blanket, half watching something on TV while scrolling through her phone. I sat on the couch next to the window, just checking random stuff online. It wasn't until we both heard the knock at the door that the mood in the room changed. Not a loud knock, just two firm taps. I paused and looked at Lily. She looked back at me with a nervous expression. We weren't expecting anyone. I got up slowly and approached the door, glancing out through the peephole. A tall man in a gray jacket stood on the porch. He looked to be in his mid-40s, maybe older, with short dark hair and a plain face. He didn't look aggressive, just calm. Too calm. I didn't open the door. "Who is it?" I asked through the door. "Hey there," he said with a slight smile. "Name's Gary. Your dad sent me. He asked me to check on you two, said he didn't want you alone all night." That caught me off guard. He said it so casually, like it was the most normal thing in the world. I hesitated. "My dad didn't say anything about anyone coming over," I said. Gary nodded like he expected that. "Yeah, he probably forgot. He mentioned it as they were leaving. I work with him, maintenance crew. I helped him fix that leak under the bathroom sink last winter, remember?" That part was true. There had been a leak, and some guy did come by to fix it. I remembered my dad talking about a coworker helping him out, but I didn't remember what the guy looked like. Lily stood behind me now, whispering, "What does he want?" "He says Dad sent him," I whispered back. Gary spoke again. "Look, I know it sounds weird. If you want, you can call him. I'll wait out here." I pulled out my phone and called Dad. It rang, but no one picked up. I tried Mom too, straight to voicemail. Gary stood with his hands in his pockets, looking relaxed. Too relaxed for someone trying to help. I wasn't sure what made me do it, but I cracked the door open a little. Gary didn't move. He just stood there with that neutral look on his face. I opened the door wider, but still kept the chain on. "You said you know my dad?" I asked. "Yeah, Mark, right? Works at the auto repair shop over on Delaney Road. Drives a blue Ford Explorer. Your mom's name is Tara, and she makes that peanut butter cake every holiday. I've been to your house before." He rattled off those details like he rehearsed them. Each one hit with an uncomfortable weight. I let the door close and looked at Lily. Her eyes were wide. "He knows too much," she whispered. "I don't like this." Neither did I. But something made me open the door again. Maybe it was fear of being wrong, of being rude. Maybe I just didn't want to deal with the consequences if my dad really had sent him. I unchained the door. Gary stepped in, took off his jacket, and placed it neatly on the arm of the couch. He didn't ask to sit down. He just did. Lily sat on the opposite side of the room near the hallway. I stood awkwardly by the doorway. He looked around the living room like he was remembering it. He even commented on the paint color. "Looks like you guys repainted since last time," he said. "Wasn't it more of a yellow shade before?" I nodded slowly. He was right again. But that didn't make me feel better. I tried calling Dad again. Still nothing. "We made tea," he insisted. Said it was to help us all relax. As I boiled water, I saw Lily watching him. She wasn't even pretending to be calm. Her arms were wrapped tight around her knees, and she kept glancing at him like she was waiting for him to make a wrong move. While we drank, Gary started asking us questions. At first, they were normal. How was school? What grade was Lily in now? Stuff like that. Then it got strange. He asked what time we usually went to bed, if we locked all the windows at night, if anyone else had a spare key. I gave short answers. Lily didn't say anything. She just stared at him. Then he pointed to the family photo on the wall above the fireplace. "That one wasn't there last time," he said. "I like it. You two were a lot younger in the old one. It was taken at your uncle's cabin, right?" That made my stomach twist. That cabin trip was 4 years ago. The only way he could have known about it was if he was either very close to our family or had been watching us for a long time. I stood up. "I think it's getting late. We should probably start getting ready for bed." Gary smiled. "Of course, I'll stay on the couch. Don't worry. Your dad said I could crash here." I didn't know what to say. I just nodded. Lily and I went upstairs. I didn't brush my teeth or change. We just went into my room and locked the door. We sat in silence for a long time. I could hear faint sounds from downstairs, the clink of a cup, a chair scraping, then nothing. We didn't speak. Lily finally whispered, "He isn't who he says he is." I nodded. "I know. We tried to sleep, but I don't think either of us really did." It was around 2:30 a.m. when I woke up to a noise. Not a loud one, just a soft click. The door handle. I shot up and looked. The handle moved again, slowly. Lily was already awake, staring at it. Our door was locked, but someone was trying to open it. We didn't make a sound. I held my breath. After a few seconds, the handle stopped moving. Silence again. I waited 10 more minutes. Then I crept to the door and pressed my ear to it. Nothing. But I had made up my mind. We needed to get out. I grabbed my phone and texted our neighbor across the street, a retired guy named Mr. Lawson who liked us and was always outside doing yard work. I wrote, "Someone's in our house, said our dad sent him. Please help." Then I waited. No reply. I opened my window slowly and looked out. I couldn't see anything unusual. The porch light was off. The whole street looked asleep. I turned back to Lily. "We have to go," I whispered. "Out the window." Lily nodded. I opened the window wider, helped her out first, then followed. We lowered ourselves onto the roof of the porch and dropped to the ground. My phone buzzed. "Coming over now, stay hidden." We crouched behind the bushes watching the house. After what felt like forever, Mr. Lawson walked across the street with a flashlight. He rang the doorbell, waited, then knocked. The door opened. Gary stood there, calm as ever. He smiled, said something, and Mr. Lawson said something back. They talked for maybe a minute. Then Gary suddenly stepped back and shut the door. Mr. Lawson stood there, confused. Then he looked around and spotted us. We ran to him. We stayed at his house the rest of the night. He called the police. They came, searched our house, but Gary was gone. Nothing stolen, no sign of forced entry. My parents were horrified when they found out. We never saw Gary again. The police couldn't track him. He left nothing behind, not even a fingerprint. But I still remember how calm he was, how he looked at the family photo, how he asked if we locked our windows. And I always wonder what would have happened if that door had been unlocked.